I'm turning right. It's now veering directly towards those mega yachts. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to crash into one of these. I'm going to be on the news, right? And I haven't even had anything to drink yet.
Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry. My guest today is AJ Hawley, a friend of mine, a fellow speaker, all around nice person. AJ, welcome to the Fry Your Chickens podcast.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for having me.
So let's start back when we first met. It was Boston, 2023, at the Project Management Business Analyst World Summit something or other conference. I think we met in between sessions. I attended your session, and then you said, hey, would you like to come out and have some dinner and drinks with us? And we hit it off right away. You, me, Leslie, Amy, Jamie, and others. And we've just been lucky to hang out multiple times ever since. So do you remember that first night, the dinner in Boston?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We went to a steakhouse, and it was one of those things. I think we had known each other for, I don't know, 10 minutes. And yeah. And it was, hey, do you want to go to dinner? We're going to go to dinner right now. And you're like, let me go up and change real quick or something and grab something. And you come back down, and we all just kind of cram into a car, and we just drive you to an undisclosed location. You had no idea where you were going or who you were going with. We could have just kidnapped you, really, is what, yeah. Sure. And we didn't even tell you like there was candy or dogs in the car.
No, that's no. You told me there would be beer at the destination. I think
that's true.
My memory is just a slight bit different because I went up and checked Game 5 of the Yankees and Guardians playoff series and realized one inning into it that the Yankees were going to just stomp my beloved Guardians. And I said, well, I'm not going to watch this crap. And I came down. You said you want to go to dinner? Absolutely. You know, even if you kidnap and kill me, that would still be better than watching that damn game. So
that's fair, you know. And at the end of the day, though, we had a great time. I remember lots of laughs at dinner, and it was one of those times where, you know, you kind of click with somebody and you go, "This, I see myself in this other person," and vice versa. You know, I felt like there were a lot of similarities, and I do love your penchant for dad jokes. You know, they're great.
Yeah, I've even taught my dog how to speak and sing and tell dad jokes. No AI involved at all. So,
of course not.
Of course not. Yeah, I put it out on YouTube. We were talking before this started. I put out a video of Darcy telling a dad joke, and somebody in the comments put AI, and somebody else in the comment goes, no kidding. I didn't even have to fight the battle. All right.
You should type in obviously, but like put AI in that, and then, yeah, of course.
Have Darcy just come up and go, no shit. You know, it's really cute. I've done a couple where she said shit in the video, and it's really cute to see a little puppy do that.
Right.
All right, so you are a proud alum of the University of Cincinnati, correct?
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, and then you moved to warmer climates, and you are now in the Tampa St. Pete area. What pulled you south?
A lot of things. I was, frankly, I was dating somebody, and I was also working for a company, and I was moving to starting an office down here. I had some family down here as well, and I said, "Oh, these things seem aligned," and none of those things I found out later were aligned. And you know, and since I've found a new job, I got married to my wife, who I met down here, and yeah, this has been a great transition. It's one of those things that I'd come down here as a kid a lot, and we would visit down here. We had family, like I said, and we would come down. Turns out that my wife had lived about 3 blocks away from my great grandmother, and I
Wow.
never knew that. Yeah, so she was basically in her backyard. They shopped at the same Publix, and it was one of the weird things that you go, "Wow, I if I'd have known that, that'd have changed my entire trajectory, maybe." So
That's that's really cool.
yeah,
I didn't know that part. I knew you moved from Ohio down to Florida, obviously, and I know that you're probably enjoying better weather than I am today. But you know,
we are going to go to the beach later on today. That's
see,
that's a fact.
there you go. We couldn't if there is a beach up here because it's under snow right now. So you are well. Tell me about your career. Tell me about your business first, and then we'll get to the next part. Tell me
Sure.
about your business.
So I'm an independent consultant. I do Microsoft Dynamics Power Platform implementations for all sides of organizations, all sizes, and it's been a lot of fun. So I started out as a developer early on in my career, realized that I was terrible at coding, and then I didn't have a passion for it. Moved into the business analysis space, and then as I moved into the Microsoft Power Platform, it was called Dynamics at the time, and just kind of fell in love with going through solving business problems and solving just a lot of the things that are systematically wrong with organizations. And you can take that, you can build processes around it and allow people to really engage with their clientele a lot better and operate better.
Now, you are an independent contractor, a solopreneur, if you will. Were there a lot of chickens involved in going that direction that you had to fry?
All the time. They happen and they still exist. And it's weird when new ones pop up or the same ones pop up. You're like, I thought I dealt with you. I fried you already. It's not the case. They turn around and they come right back. So a lot of the things that you don't realize are a part of the solopreneurship is you're constantly marketing and you're constantly selling. And if you're not doing that, then you are working on a project. And now, then when that project rolls up, then you are frantically marketing and selling at that point, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that there's a lot of things that you don't necessarily, oh, you're also your own, bookkeeper, accountant, and all of the other things that go along with just kind of owning and operating a business. So it's interesting to see how that transpires over time and how you adapt to those situations where you're like, I really enjoy just doing the job portion of this. The running the business portion of this is wildly different.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I would echo that sentiment. It's like, well, can I just go speak somewhere? No, you don't just get to show up and speak. You
Right.
actually have to market yourself.
Right.
The non-fun part of the business. Although some people like marketing and sales, just in general, I echo what you say. I just want to do the fun stuff.
Right. And if there was somebody else that would want to run that portion of it and say, hey, by the way, here's all the things you got to do, that'd be great. I think that that's one of those things too, that if you have that person, they pay a premium and then you just end up working for that person indirectly.
Yeah, that's fair. It's absolutely fair. So you've obviously been doing this for a while. At what point did you decide that you wanted to start speaking and about business analysis?
Yeah, that actually, it kind of came up. And if you want to talk about chickens, that is, I'm kind of like your friend, Michael Pope, right? Where he was terrified of speaking and he was just petrified of talking to anybody in public. And so he said, I'm going to do this because I'm scared of it. And that's kind of where I started with this as well. I was currently leading and co-leading the IIBA chapter in Tampa Bay for a while. And I was doing some presentations there when we didn't have anybody. And that's a little bit different because you're in an audience of 25, 30 people that you know. And so you're talking to people that you know or people that you are acquainted with. And so it's a little bit different because it's conversational. And then, speaking at a conference is wildly different as well because now they brought you in, you're the leading expert on something, and you've got a room of 50 to 100 people, sometimes larger, depending on, the conference size. And you've got people that are there listening for you. and waiting for you to give them all these nuggets that you hope that you have to give them.
So you gave that speech on imposter syndrome in Boston and other places. Tell me more just about imposter syndrome in general.
Yeah. So I know that you had Michael Pope on here earlier, a few weeks ago, right? And
Right.
he had talked a little bit about that, where he felt he was getting a new job, I think, and he was in with people that he felt that were a little bit above his caliber as far as career or what have you. But I feel like there's a lot of that, and especially in IT, right? Where it's one of those things that you walk into a room and you feel like you are automatically the lowest person on the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
And I had felt that in a lot of different roles that I was in, just because I was never part of the group. Either I was consulting, so I'm an immediate outsider, or I was a business analyst. And again, I'm asking the business team, so I don't do what they do. And I'm also not a developer, so I'm not responsible for any of the actual, we'll say, core development in that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
involved in it, but I'm not responsible for doing any of those things, right? And so then you kind of always feel like you're just left out a little bit. Like, do you really know what you're doing in those situations? But yeah, so I think the top five things that you have for that are like finding out that it's hard to accept your own accomplishments. It's hard to and you often like attribute the work that you do to other people. So you might defer and say, "Oh yeah, well, it was a team effort, or somebody else did this, or so on." And then really kind of like you might even overwork, right? So you might overwork for because you feel like you're not contributing enough. So if I work this much harder, or if I put 10 hours more in, then they'll see all my value and my effort. And that will allow me to feel like I'm more accomplished. Or you just kind of procrastinate on things that are like high stakes. So
Oh yeah.
you come back and you're like, well, that's really big, and I don't want to do that. I'll wait till later. And and then that way, when you get into that situation, you feel like, oh man, I didn't deliver what I was going to. Well, that's because I procrastinated, not because I don't know what I'm doing. So
Interesting.
yeah, there's just so like those are the kind of the common characteristics of how you know what you're feeling. But I feel like even on some of the internal causes, like there's internal and external causes for why you would feel that way, and some of that just might be persistent self doubt, or just low self efficacy. You know, looking at this, fearing of failure, that I'm not going to be successful in this overall. But I think some of the more external reasons that you might have is just that you're in a high pressure situation. You're in high pressure sales. You're in a spot where you're not set up for success. There's You're working for a skeleton crew, right? And then you are the only one that's got to be able to handle multiple jobs and multiple hats. So what I found, if I asked myself three questions, I had the what I called the recursive process flow of success. And if you know anything about development, you know that recursive flows are bad, but that's okay. I think in this case, it's a positive thing. I found that if you ask yourself three things, so the first one is, am I set up for success? Am I set up to succeed? Or do I have the knowledge and skills? And then the last one is, have I petered out? And so, petered out is the Peter principle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so, where you kind of reach the level of incompetency in from where you are. So, in a perfect case, developers are, you might have a phenomenal developer, and then they turn that person into a manager because they're getting promoted, and that person was great at coding, but they're terrible at managing people. And not because they can't do it, because their skill set is built into a particular set of development coding skills and not people management, right?
Right.
And I wish I could show the slide that I had for that, but it was one of my favorite slides I ever created. I had a whole bunch of people named Peter, so like Pete Townsend and Pete Dinklage and oh man, Peter Pan and all these different things in here, right? And I think I said to the audience, I was like, well, by the way, if you ever want to create a slide like this, don't Google famous Peters at work. And it was, yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it. Ultimately, I think what I found is it's not that you are a fraud, it's that you have feelings of being a fraud.
Right.
And once
I
you
agree.
understood that, and really that comes down to your entire theme of just your chickens, you know, and that's all it is I think imposter syndrome is just the step before you actually fry your chickens. It's the feelings that you get before you actually go in and face the fears that you were looking to face.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I remember thinking when I first heard you talk about that, I was like, we're talking about the same basic problem.
Yep.
And maybe yeah, I mean, you're more here's imposter syndrome, what to do. So you're like, here's how to get the pan in the oil, and then I'm like, here's what you do to fry it, something like that. We could team up and do a two-person keynote.
I like that.
Tell me about your keynote. I was there, I think, the first time you delivered it, right? Was your first one in Vancouver?
So my first one, yeah, it was in Vancouver. It
Yeah.
was.
So tell me about your first keynote experience at the Project Summit in Vancouver.
I was doing a presentation called What If I Don't? And it was a lot of speculation around things that I had found and said, I bet if we changed this aspect of life, things would be different. And so instead of saying, what happens if I do this? You look at, well, what if I don't do this? What happens if I don't do this? And all of that really kind of spawned from, I think, the first presentation that I did at the MBA World. It was called Imposter Syndrome. And
I
like,
was there.
yeah. And so it was, you're a fraud. Everybody knows more than you, and other lies we tell ourselves. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, I did that presentation just because I was 100% scared of doing anything. So I said, what do I know the best? Well, I know what it feels like to be an imposter in all of this. And a lot of that stemmed from, like I was saying earlier, starting out in development, moving into business analysis, and then moving into the dynamic space. So when I did all three of those, I was never really a part of any one of those things. And I think, you know, business analysts feel that a lot of times because they're not really a part of the organization necessarily. They're looking at it a part of the business organization. They're a part of the IT team, but if you're looking at that from an agile perspective, are they not really a part of the team? They're involved in the team, and so there's a lot of like outside looking in that space. And I was like, well, I know this very well, so I could probably talk about that, and did exactly that. So walked through imposter syndrome, what that meant to me, how I felt with about those feelings, and then dealing with those over time in my career.
I remember, I don't know if Boston was the first time you did the imposter syndrome, but I remember sitting in on your presentation and thinking, you know, this is going to sell for him because you look like you really know what, and you do know what you're doing, right? You're up there in front of everybody. Everybody's like, you know, he looks like an authority. And then you tell him, hey, I suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so everybody in the audience is like, well, crap, if he does and he's learning how to overcome it, he can help me. And and so I remember that was the impression I got from your one in Boston. But I want to go back to Vancouver.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Oh, no, please finish.
No, no, this is your show.
Yeah, but if you got something to say.
I always have
Okay.
things to say, but if you want, yeah, let's go back to the keynote. Sure,
All
Vancouver.
right, let's go back to the keynote because
Yep.
I want you to tell us the boat story.
Okay.
The boat
Okay.
story is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to almost imposter syndrome as well. But yeah, so I was in. It was my buddy's 30th birthday. We decided that we were going to, and what he wanted to do was rent an e-boat, right? And so an e-boat is an electric boat, and we were going to take that up and down the Hillsborough River in Tampa. But you can also take it out into the Gulf a little bit. And I was like, all right, well, I've piloted boats before or driven boats before, but it's not really been, I was like, there were speed boats and you're in an open lake with nobody around. This is wildly different. This is, remember the Jungle Cruise from Disney? It's kind of
Uh-huh.
like that. It feels like that kind of a boat. The steering wheel is just massive, and you're steering it, but you're not really like it's huge. And so I get in, and the guy the renting it out, it says, "Hey, I've got three things for you. Right? You have to know this. One, don't go over. You've got 2 hours to go up and down, whatever. Bring it back. So it's half an hour back from the furthest spot. You're like, okay, no big deal. Two, don't get it wet. And I'm like, don't get what wet? And he's like, the boat. I said, why not? And he goes, well, there's all batteries underneath the seat. I'm like, how are you, how are you supposed to not get a boat wet? Uh, and then three, and he's like, just don't drink too much. And I was like, too much? And he's like, yeah. And I looked down, and sure enough, there's a sticker that says the driver's blood alcohol level must not be over, the limit. And it's like 1.1.2 or whatever, right? And so I was like, okay. So even on the boat, it just says you can drink, just don't drink a whole lot. And I would have thought that they would have said the opposite of that, right?
Hmm.
As we go in, we are pulling out, and again, I hadn't driven a boat before in a while, and I just gun it. I just throw the throttle forward, and we start moving. I didn't get to really understand the steering aspect of it very well, so I'm going in, and as I go to turn, it's not turning. So I'm turning the wheel. The boat is not moving at all. It's still going straight. He also told me one thing too. He goes, by the way, if you go to the left side, that takes you out way into the Gulf, into the shipping channel, where you'll have uh, cargo boats and cruise liners and all these other things. Don't go left. And I said, understood. I'm turning it right, and the boat's still going straight where all of the cruise liners are coming in.
Oh.
As I'm going straight, I'm like, all right, fine. So I turn, and then it starts turning. Well, over on my right side are all of these mega yachts that are lined up in the harbor. I'm turning right. It's now veering directly towards those mega yachts. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to crash into one of these. I'm going to be on the news, right? And I haven't even had anything to drink yet. As I'm turning, I flip it the other way. So again, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then I'm doing now a donut. So I'm trying wildly in front of the entire, I'm only 30 feet out, right? So the entire dock is now looking at me. There's two restaurants, and I'm sure that I'm just entertaining the hell out of everybody there because I'm sitting here doing donuts in front of these mega yachts because I'm trying to figure out how the wheel turns. Well, I finally turn it around, and the first thing that I see again is just this mega yacht right in front of me. I figured out the controls and I turn it, and we start going. We finally go out. I take it out a little bit, and we go into the Gulf. As we are going into the Gulf, it had rained pretty hard the night before and canceled a lot of this was for St. Patrick's Day. And so the river's green, it looks all cool. And they had rained the night before. And so the water was a little bit choppy that day. As I'm taking it out into the Gulf, we're going by where all of the football players live and baseball players live. And you can see all of their massive mansions around Harbor Island. Well, the water's getting choppier and choppier, and that's getting choppier and choppier. And so now it's like spilling over the edge a little bit. I'm thinking, that's rule number two, don't get it wet. And I'm trying to pilot it between these two pylons because you're going under bridges. And I know that you have about 60 degrees of play in the steering wheel, so there's nothing in there. And the whole time I'm white knuckling it, just freaking out because I'm trying to drive this boat, and I'm looking at everybody else, and I'm just imagining them going, "Man, this guy sucks. This is terrible." And as I'm going through, we turn it around, finally come back and start getting on the river. As I do, my wife looks up at me and she's like, fully sincere, "You're killing it." And she knew that I was nervous about this. She knew that I was not necessarily having the greatest time. But in that moment, I looked back at my friends, and they didn't think that I was messing it up. They just said, Oh yeah, no, this is great. They were just able to enjoy their time, kick back, have drinks, and just enjoy their time. And in my head, it was the entire time going, you don't know what you're doing, like you are risking everybody else and so on. And I was thinking, oh man, this is a perfect use case for what if I don't, that scenario of what happens if I just don't try these things and don't do these things.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that story very well. That's why I wanted to hear it. It's hilarious, number one. The other thing I remember this time and the when I first heard it, I think I've heard it a couple times now,
Mm.
is I had a flashback to Caddyshack when the Rodney Dangerfield comes in and he almost hits the judge's yacht and then he drops the anchor straight down through.
Yeah, it
So,
was very similar to that. Yeah.
yeah. Except I've seen pictures. You didn't dress like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack, which is
Uh,
probably a good thing.
it was
Not,
actually close.
if I recall correctly, you look more like Ted Knight with the cap and everything. The uh, the,
Yeah,
the
that's
captain's
fair.
cap. That was
That's
impressive.
fair.
So, what are the qualifications for renting a boat and driving? What kind of license do you have to do that down in Florida?
That's the thing. Well, first of all, this is Florida, so pretty much anything goes. If you've ever driven down here, you would know that. So you had to have three things. You had to be over 21. You had to have a valid driver's license, and the most important one was you had to have a valid credit card. So, and I did, and when people asked me like, why didn't you let somebody else drive? And I told them specifically, well, it was because of the third criteria. They said, what's that? I said, it was my credit card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
So,
That's fantastic. And stories like that are what make the keynote really, really good. And so glad you could share that. AJ, before we ask this next question, I want to show a video.
But
No! Son, I got it done! I got it done! I got it done!
what is it? Oh, it is $1. That's what I couldn't. I didn't have my contacts in. I couldn't.
So that was your Halloween maze. It was epic. Tell me about building that maze.
yeah. So my neighbor across the street, um, he's got a wrapped porch, right? And so then when I first moved in, he said, you need to know three things about this neighborhood. And I said, okay. He goes, one, we do Halloween huge here. And I said, perfect. He goes, no, seriously, they bus in kids. We have hundreds of kids that come through this neighborhood. Get on board. Secondly, we do Christmas pretty big here too. So make sure that you have decorations and do that up. And the third thing is, we are a lightning organization, so we love lightning fans. And I think that was just his. I don't think it was about the neighborhood. I think that was his personal one. And I want to make sure that everyone's a lightning fan and lives in the neighborhood, right? This year, I saw somebody had built online like a 15-foot spider. And so I decided that I was going to do the same thing. And they did theirs out of, just wire, chicken wire and whatever, but like they had big long legs. I said, I bet I could do it with like PVC pipe and did the same thing. And so mine ended up being, so it was 6 foot tall, just the body alone. And then the legs were, I think, 10 or 12 feet, the whole thing from span to span. And then I said, I'm going to take it one step further. I had done some zombie stuff last year and took pallets and decorated our yard and so on. And this lady that runs the local dog, it's a dog park and bar. And she came last year. She said, we can do this up bigger next year and we'll just make it like a donation. So if people wanted to donate to the dog adoptions that they run, then they can do that. And I said, perfect. And so I said, we're going to do a maze. We're going to do a haunted maze in the driveway. And that way we can make it as scary as we want to do and so on. And that's exactly what we did. So we took, I probably had 50 pallets that I had acquired through a local flooring company, and then it was all going to be trash anyway. And so then I just got to repurpose it. And then there was another local spot that they give out, they make mobile homes, right? And manufactured homes. And so then they have a whole bunch of offcuts of MDF board that they don't ever use. And so they put it out for the public so that was all going to be trash anyway. So I got to take all of that, make that into a fun haunted house. So I had about 6 people helping me on Halloween day of putting that all together. And I had been out there all week putting all the pallets and so on. And then we decorated it. And so we opened it up and allowed people to come through and just go through the neighborhood. So we had several hundred kids, and it scared quite a few of them. We had only had about 6 cry, and we had a couple of adults that tried to back out. So once they were in, they tried to come back out a couple times. But it was a lot of fun.
I remember showing my wife the spider, and she was just blown away by how cool the spider was. That was a very impressive piece of it. So,
That was fun.
so how are you going to top that for Christmas this year?
Well, I think there's some travel that my wife and I are doing, and I think we're gonna pass on the Christmas decorations this year, unfortunately.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You blew Halloween out of the water. They're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone says that there's either the Halloween family or like the Christmas family, and my neighbors both. I think my wife and I are different. I'm the Halloween person. She's the Christmas person. But somehow I still have to go on the roof to put lights up. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still in the midst of putting up the Christmas decorations. We have an upstairs tree and a downstairs tree. In my office, the downstairs tree is called the naughty tree. The upstairs tree is the nice tree. So mine has Rodney Dangerfield from Caddyshack ornament, Three Stooges, Cartman from South Park, you name it. All the naughty ornaments are down here. And,
Okay.
And some of the chickens will be replaced by Santa rubber chickens. And and as we're recording this, I realize that it's 20 days till Christmas and I still don't have it up, but we'll get there. And there was a lady, a friend of the family that came over one year, walked into the house and just started laughing. She goes, "It looks like Christmas threw up in here."
I love it.
On the nice side, that was the naughty comment. On the nice side, my wife's niece said, "Mom and I cannot wait to come over to your house for Christmas because we just love all the decorations you have." And that's why you do it, is to have fun with family or kids. Little kids in the house just love that. And at Halloween, even though some of them were scared, it was a memory, and that's what it's about, is creating those memories.
I agree. I love your idea of the naughty and the nice tree. That is amazing. And
Yeah.
I think I will contribute to your naughty tree for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. Always like the naughty stuff. Now, I have a stuffed Mr. Hanky. He still gets to stay upstairs just because of tradition. But there are a lot of naughty ornaments, and I keep getting more.
I've met your boys. That all tracks. All of that tracks.
This is true. Okay, so you are the very first guest that is going to have the honor of fielding a question from Beth and my puppy, Darcy. Darcy has been quite popular on YouTube recently. I'm not at all jealous of the fact that she gets more views in a minute than I get in a lifetime. So I'm going to share the screen. She has a question specifically that she has created for you. Something she really wants to know from you. So here it comes. She's going to say hi. You can say hi back to her if you want. She always likes that. And we're going to share the screen. There she is. Now she's upstairs taking her nap, so I had to record her early. Here we go.
Gotcha.
Hi, AJ.
Hi, Darcy.
I heard about your Halloween maze. It sounds awesome. Are dogs allowed?
They are indeed.
Hi, AJ.
Okay, she gets a little chatty.
Yeah, that's fine. They are indeed. I think it would be scary for them, but we didn't have any doggy treats available. No one brought their dog through. But yeah, I can tell you for a fact though that my dogs hated it. mostly from the zombies. They did not like that. I made sure that there's one in particular. I would just take the head out and I would just poke it out of like a door or something like that, and then they would go berserk. Then I would stick my head out and they were fine. But it was fun.
I love that. You see him, the little one. I mean, how would she even know to do this? Some guy came up, the Amazon delivery guy came up, but it wasn't an Amazon van. And she went nuts until the dude came out and it's, it's the guy who delivers Amazon stuff. Welcome.
She's a lab, right?
Yeah, they're all labs.
Yeah.
So
I feel like labs are, they're dogs that as soon as they come out, they're like, oh yeah, you're cool. And same thing with golden retrievers. You know, I feel like labs and golden retrievers are basically, the same personality where it's just like everyone's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe you're here. Oh, it's you. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, if you put a mask on or something, they lose it. But
That's true.
It's all good. So we've seen one of our dogs, Darcy, but I understand one of your dogs would like to make an appearance too. So let's have a lab on both sides of the podcast today.
All right. Bear with me for 1 second. Hi, I'm Zuri.
Hey, Zuri.
Hi, Zuri.
Hey, Zuri. How are you?
Hi, Phil. How are you?
I'm good. You're a pretty dog.
I'm pretty good.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. All right.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Zuri. Did you know that Zuri and Siri sound alike to my phone?
I failed miserably.
On my side, I'm like, what is my phone doing? I was like, oh, I said Zuri.
Yeah. Siri, Zuri. Yeah, I get it. I was trying to use my sound mixer and use Zuri's voice, and that apparently didn't come through.
No, you might have had your Zoom set up to block. Like, I have my Zoom to allow any type of noise because I was finding out that I was squeezing rubber chickens and they were mute.
Yeah.
Because it interpreted them as noise. So, and when Fabricio Laguna was on this podcast, he was squeezing a rubber chicken, and I had to, in post, put the squeak noise in because, it's not. A little bit. A little bit. Let's see. That's not bad.
That's not bad. Well, I think my mic also has it only picks up voice on here too. So, but I was gonna see if
This worked. Did you hear me now?
Yes,
do I sound like a robot?
you do.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I have a sound mixer, so I can do that. I can do
The devil, if you want.
Dude, you need to send me the link. We'll put it in the show notes too. But Beth was asking if I wanted anything else for Christmas. I think I might.
I know several things that you would. You have the Blue Yeti, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah. So, and that's plugged in to your laptop directly.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I've got 3 or 4 things that you absolutely need to have, especially if you're going to do a podcast.
Okay.
So,
Well, send them to me. Links will be in the show notes for inquiring minds who want to know. It is time for the chicken question portion of the show. And we start with the same question that we have asked all of our guests, or a flavor of that same question. Which would you rather fight? 1 bear-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized bears? And why?
so I think, well, let me at least assess this, put on my BA hat, right? If I'm looking at 1 bear-sized chicken, that's effectively just a velociraptor. That's what that is, right?
Right.
And then if I look at 100 chicken-sized bears, just mathematically on that, there's 100 of them. That's quite a bit, right? And so they'd still have talons, and they're not talons, but the claws. They'd
Claws,
still have teeth, and I think it's going to have to be the bear-sized chickens.
The single.
Yeah, no,
The chicken-sized bears? The little bears with big chicken.
Yeah, the little bears. Sorry,
Okay.
little bears. I really feel like with the claws, and then you're not going to win. Not
Yeah.
gonna win a bear-sized chicken.
No, you're probably not. Now, there has been a question that people have, a follow-up question going back to me. A couple people have asked, do I get a weapon? Because that changes the game entirely. A sword, and you only have to take out one versus 100. Yeah. And originally, the question was a horse-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized horses, but Fabricio correctly pointed out that horses are herbivores. So I needed to get a carnivore in there, and that dramatically changed the question.
Yeah, but horses can kick though.
They can, yeah,
Yeah.
but they're little, so theoretically, but 100 would be tough. And then there's the whole debate about, well, if 100's too many, what would make it a fair fight versus one giant chicken? And that's probably something worth delving into the next time we're together at a head.
I mean, at that point, if you have a bear-sized chicken, it's like what, 2 cassowaries?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kill people all the time.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the
Whoa.
little
All right.
bears.
Well, that's a very good thing. Now we're going on to the next part of our podcast. ChatGPT will ask us 3 random questions, one at a time. I gave it the episode guide of what the kind of things we wanted to cover, as well as your LinkedIn profile. I said, give me 3 chicken questions, but only it knows them right now. So I don't know these ahead of time.
Okay.
It's going to put them out there via the voice, and we will both have them. If you want to pass the question to me, then I have to answer it. That's the way the game is played. Hello, Maple. Are you there?
I'm here and ready to help. Just let me know what you need and we'll dive right in.
Give me the first random chicken question.
Absolutely. Let's start off with a fun one. Here's your first random chicken question. If you could have a rubber chicken that magically delivers a daily motivational quote, what would you name it and why?
Magical quote.
Yes.
How about Colonel's answers?
Oh, wow. Very nice. I like that. I was trying to come up with something like for Zig Ziglar. I don't know, Beak Ziglar or I thought Tony Robbins, but I couldn't come up with anything that rhymed with Robbins. So yeah, my efforts on that one pretty much laid an egg. So we're gonna go with Colonel's answers. Okay, second question, please.
Of course. Here comes the next one. If you had to choose between facing 1 giant chicken or 100 chicken-sized horses, which one would you...
Whoa. You stole mine. You were supposed to come up with 3 random questions, and you know that 1 in 100 is one you came up with before, but that one doesn't count. So just go right on to question 3, but have question 4 ready to go.
You caught me. All right, that one's out of the lineup. Let's jump to a fresh question number 3. Here we go. If you could design a brand new Umber Chicken game that helps people laugh off stress, what would the main rule or the main objective be? And don't worry, I've got a 4th one in my back pocket too.
So it is a rubber chicken game.
Yeah. Not exactly sure why she's going full scale chicken on this one.
Okay.
Probably the prompt writer.
Yeah. Who would have known?
Yeah.
All right. So I've got 2 names. I haven't figured out the game yet.
Okay.
So I think you could do what the pluck, and then at that point you would be able to pluck out feathers, and then it would be you if you have one side, somebody else has another side, and then as they answer questions incorrectly, it'd be like a trivia game, and then you have to pluck a feather, and then whoever has all of their feathers plucked, then they lose.
And then they say you're plucked.
Yes, you're so plucked.
Yes.
And
That's
then,
a great clucking idea.
Wow. The other one, you don't choke the chicken, I think would be. No?
Go on.
And it would be, you have to fill up a rubber chicken and like with a shot, right? And same deal.
And then I guess to a certain point it just pukes and all the alcohol comes out.
Yeah. not alcohol. If you play with water or something with food coloring in there, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Puking chickens, always nice.
yeah.
All right. All right. I'm going to admit that I think the first game has more possibilities than the second, but
I was throwing options out there.
I like it. I like it. All I could think of was the clucking game of life, which is, but yeah, I don't know. I like yours better. I like the idea of plucking the feathers. All right, here we go. Final question, please.
Absolutely. Final question coming right up. So for this last one, if you had to replace one super serious business term with a chicken themed phrase in all your emails for a day, which term would you replace and what would the new phrase be? So there you go. We've got all 4 now.
I do some stuff with data integrations and data mapping, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would be, just call it chicken scratch.
Yes.
All
Data
right.
map is a chicken scratch. Absolutely. Embrace the scratch. You could probably train AI to do that.
Good.
All right. See, this is where innovation happens on the Fry Your Chicken podcast. AJ, this has been fantastic. Where can we find you online?
That is a good question. I think LinkedIn is probably the best way to find me online because that is the only social media that I adopt.
Excellent. How about your business?
You can find me at trendsparency.com.
Okay.
And so that's Trendsparency with TRENDS and then Parency.
Parency. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
All right,
thank you so much, Phil. This has been a great time. It's always good chatting with you. I always have a great time with you.
Always enjoy catching up with you, sir. Cannot wait until the next time we are at an in-person event together. And this,
Will that be Orlando?
it'll be in Orlando 2026. I will be doing my new AI keynote. Looking forward to that. I wish you the happiest of New Year's and hope you had a wonderful holiday.
Thank you very much. You as well.
Hey, it's Phil. Like today's show? Well, you'll clucking love my Fry Your Chickens newsletter on LinkedIn and Substack. Links are in the notes.